Hello, 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 hello. Amy Stone here, live on YouTube. If you followed me for a while, you might recognize that I'm back in my home base. I've been traveling over the summer. One of the experiments, I've looked different as I showed up all over the place, and I'm back in my home base. One of the things I have learned, I've relearned that I keep testing, keep discovering, is that for this business, doing the work that I love to do, having a home base, a set home base, is much more productive than trying to do this while I travel. Let me see if it looks like I'm actually live on YouTube. Live. It says live. My name is Amy Stone, you guys. I am the host of The Art of Imperfect Adulting. This is streaming for the Unmuted Creator Collective, which is a new project, very, very small, new channel. And what I'm here to do today is talk about how I see people who are creators making money. This is because one of the huge questions that I have had in the past 10 years is how to make money with the things that I build. And I have historically had this plan, this precept, this idea that what I need to do is build the show, create the product, and that things will naturally follow the audience and the money will follow. Sometimes that has worked. Mostly it has not worked as well as I'd hoped it would. And so I'm trying to figure it out. And the reason I mentioned that I'm trying to figure it out is that I want to be really, really clear that what I'm doing here today is not talking about my method for doing this or setting myself up as an expert in this, teaching you a method of what works all the time or anything like that. So today I'm going to talk about and share with anybody that finds this and jumps in. And if you find this on YouTube and you jump in, you should be able to leave comments and do things like that. Let me know you're here. It's just me running this. So if I don't see your comments live, I apologize. This is an experiment. So I'm going to be talking about what I've seen, what I think I have learned about how creators make money, and where I have experience with any of those things. I will go ahead and mention that because I don't have anything to hide about that. But I do want to say again that this is not me saying this is how other people should do it, but starting the conversation. Just talking about it, indie creator to other indie creators. So that's what I am, right? I don't work for a network. I don't work for an agency. I don't have a big setup around me doing these things. I create. Right now I host what is called The Art of Imperfect Adulting. This is my third independent show. The first one was called Mile After Mile. There was an even smaller one that was a branded podcast that supported a coaching business I had in between. And now I have The Art of Imperfect Adulting. And so, yeah, I'm not trying to tell you how to do it, but just start the conversation because I'm a creator trying to figure it out. And I've decided for some reason that will show up later, we'll see if it's a good idea or not, to do this building in public. I don't have all of the answers and I don't have all of the connections to begin to find the answers. And so that's the reason I'm going public with this, to start a public conversation about it, to invite people into the conversation, to join me in making this better for myself and other people. And so that's where I am, right? And at the end of this, after I go through this list of all the ways that I have seen and know about creators making money, I will share my ideas about what I think they all have in common. And I also will share why that and how that connects to this Unmuted Creator Collective and what I'm building, because I think it might be something that will help bridge the gap. Bridge the gap. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, I have made this little slide so you can see what exists today for the Creator Collective. All right, so you should see covering me up the Unmuted Creator Directory. Let me see if I can actually check that. Yeah, okay. Let me turn the volume off so it doesn't get It's confusing. It's confusing to try and be loud by yourself. But here we are. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so there you go. So this is the Unmuted Creator Directory, which is live today. There are just over 90 people who have expressed interest in it and 30 plus creators who are currently listed in it. So if you are an indie creator and you want to put your show into the directory, I have ways that you can do that. There is a form where you can enter your show. Everything is verified by human, me, to make sure that there is a show. And then you just go up there. It's open to the public. It is not oops, didn't mean to do that. It is not meant to be gatekept or anything like that. So then this is the YouTube channel that we are on right now. And I am live and streaming. And there are two things that are visibility elements that I have already got live that I encourage people to do. Once you're in the directory, I have created the Creator Showcase, which is where we do a showcase featuring your show for other people, for the audience. And there's also the Creator Roundtable. Let's see, I'm on this little tiny. So these are the Creator Showcase. And then there's also the Creator Roundtable, which are monthly live streams where I bring together a panel of creators and we talk about the show. So that is currently what's live in the Unmuted Creator Collective. It is designed to be for visibility and growth for independent creators. And that is because I have had close to 100 conversations with other creators like myself who about what they're doing and what they're building. And the top thing that comes up is it's hard to grow an audience. So I'm leaning hard into what I think is going to be helpful, which is giving people a way to increase their visibility. So if you want to be a part of that as a creator, I encourage you to reach out. All right. So this is when I talk about visibility and growth. What do I mean? Why do I mean that that's important? There's a gap, right? There's a gap to get over things. And there's two visuals that I can offer you. This one is a moat, right? Like there's a big jump to get over from like creating a show and having no audience to having a show that has an audience. And the other way to visualize it in my mind that might work, and these are things in progress, is like if success and growth is a ladder, it's like the rungs in the ladder are either very far apart or there's missing rungs. Like what are the steps that we can look at and follow that will be helpful for creators to do that? Okay, so let's jump into what I'm talking about with how people who are creators do actually make money. All right, and so I've created this new little scene, which is super fun and helpful, and I am going to change it as we go. So that you have something to look at that's not just my face. So creators can get paid by the platforms where they put content on. This is such a fun thing to know is out there in the world. This is where you get paid by the people who have the content just for putting it up there. You wake up in the morning, you make an audio podcast or a video podcast, you put it out in the world. You make a video of you making your breakfast smoothie, your coffee, and then the platform pays you, right? So this does exist. YouTube, TikTok, and Meta, I think on Instagram, have ways where you can be directly paid by them for their content. YouTube is Google, so there's the text version of that, which is AdSense, right? Those are the ways that people do that. It does exist. There's a pretty big threshold that you have to have an audience of a certain size for it to work, but it does work, and it's been around for a long time. That's like kind of the dream, right? Okay, so now the next one, I'm changing this live while I do this, so we'll see if this works. This is my trial of this. So like instead of making slides for you guys, the next method that I know about that is super popular right now, that creators can get paid is when the people who are your audience subscribe and pay you directly, right? Asking the people who are in your audience to read, listen, and watch, to pony up a fee to support you as a creator. You can ask for a one-time fee, like a tip, buy me a coffee, stuff like that. You can create a recurring subscription. Those are the way they do this. This is very, very popular right now. Substack, Patreon. I can do this through my audio host Captivate. I think I can do this through my email platform Beehive. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and I know people who have success with this. There is one of the people who was on the top 20 profitable podcasters with Forbes. I read an article about him last year, I think, or maybe the year before, where he made a ton of money, like outside the traditional model by just turning on his Patreon and having people pay him. So this does work. I have had a tip option on, I think, every single episode that I've released. And I also promote that in every single newsletter that I send. It has not, for me, been something that has been like, yay, here's all the money, right? So just honest disclosure there, but it is something that people can do. All right, so I do see, this is super fun. I do see that people are actually watching, but I have no way. Okay, so I don't see any comments. Okay, fine. Very, very good. Although let me see if I go over here. Okay. Good. All right, here we go. So next way, modifying as we go. What's next on the list, Amy? Ways that creators can make money. Events. Okay. This is something that I do see people do. But I think that sometimes small creators don't necessarily draw this together. This is something that also comes from the old days of news and magazines. They are often, the publisher is also an event host. So as a creator, you can host personal, in-person, and virtual events. There's like endless variety here. It can be a summit, a conference, a mastermind. You could host a 5K. You could host a barbecue. You could host a potluck. You can host a dinner. All of these things. A retreat, walk and talk. Coffee. I think I said that again. There's when I live in Miami, there's a giant business run by a successful influencer, which is called Coffee and Chill, right? Very good model for that. There's Creator NYC, which is an event business which I think they monetize through events also, if I understand what they do correctly. So you can charge admission to your events. You could sell sponsorships at your events. You can sell gift bag spots at the events, exhibit space. Events as a money-making thing are a tried and true business model. When I was much, much younger, I worked for a company, didn't do it myself, but worked for a company where I produced and created events, sold sponsorships and that kind of thing. There's a really, really big difference between working for a company and arranging their events and creating your own events as an entrepreneur. But it is a tested model. It can have a pretty big investment jump to get to. Events can be expensive to put on, or maybe they're not. Tell me if I'm wrong. They are, I will say, I think that live events, virtual and in person, they can be a lot of work, right? So those are the things that I know about events, but it's definitely a way that people do it. Definitely something to think of. If you're watching this, let me know what you think about me changing my little text block at the bottom here instead of making slides. I'm super curious if it's helpful or if it's super boring to look at my face and I should create slides for you. All right, so another way creators can make money is by selling products to their audience. And this comes in a couple different forms, right, that I know of. Let me know as I list these if you think I've forgotten some or missed some. Totally possible. I'm not super expert. Okay, right? So starting at the easy, maybe merch. You can sell merch. That used to be hard to do because you'd have to order it and create it and have it in stock and all of those things. But now you can do merch on demand, design it through a store, take a cut, stuff like that. And merch is fun if you're a creator, right? To come up with something that is yours and has your brand on it or a fun slogan or whatever. Merch is fun. I would love to have merch. I would love. The reason I don't have merch is because it's one of those things that like an idea pops into my head and I'm like, that'd be great. And then I'm on to the next thing. But if you want to help me create merch based on the work I do, reach out because I think that would be super fun to have. The idea of seeing somebody with like a tote bag or a water bottle or a t-shirt or a coffee mug that said something related to something I've done just seems super fun to me. Okay, other products that the product sales and the way creators can make money with products, affiliate sales. Okay, so affiliate sales, if you don't already know, is where you sell somebody else's product and you share a link that is tied to you and you get a commission. These Amazon affiliates, which may have a different name now, is a big one. Target has an affiliate program. Vendors have affiliates. Affiliates can be really, really big moneymakers for people if they are good alignment, right? And one of the things about affiliates that's nice for small creators looking to make money is that um, you can get in early when you don't have a large audience. You won't I don't know if you'll make a lot of money, like if you don't have a big audience, but it's something where usually you can try and go from there. So in the Art of Imperfect Adulting, there are affiliate links in the show notes. There are affiliate links in the newsletters. It's a possibility, y'all. All right, so that one I have experience with. TikTok Shop and other direct selling products, Etsy, Pinterest, stuff like that. That is a way to sell products and get commission through the platform. I have bought things on TikTok Shop. A lot of people having a lot of success there, right? And then the other thing with products is that you can sell your own products. And so there are several examples of this. So if you have a show that supports your business and your service, like that could be called a branded show. You are using the show that you're doing to, every single episode is almost like an ad of what you do. And so you're using it as a way to sell your own products or services, so branded shows. But also, right, you can sell your own books, your own actual physical products. If you make planners or perfume or whatever it is that you do, you can do all of that as a creator to do that. So those are things. So those are the ways that I see creators using products to generate revenue. I probably missed a bunch because this is something that outside of my desire. Oops, sorry. That wasn't supposed to happen. Outside of wishing that I had merch and having some affiliate links in the things that I do, it's not something that I have actually done a lot of myself. If you have, I would love to hear from you. So maybe you already knew about those and all of those things, but if not, I hope that is helpful. Then we're going to move into the ones that I think that are the things that people think about all the time, right? Ads. Right. As creators, especially long form creators, I think that people know that you can sell time within your shows, right? And this is something that you can do so there's two ways that can be done like this. Like if you are putting content on YouTube and you hit their threshold, they will begin to put ads on your show. People often talk about specifically with YouTube that YouTube might put ads on your show when you're smaller and you're not getting compensated for it. They might, but I don't think they're more interested in getting their ads out to where there's an actual audience. So I think that's actually a situation that's overblown for small creators. But so the platform that you're on can put ads on your show. YouTube is the easiest example of that. And then there's also, you could work with a network. So there are many creators who sign on with a network, and then the network places ads through the whole show, the whole bucket of shows. Oops, sorry about that. And so that's a way that ads can show up. And then creators can directly sell ads and put them into their content. There's a lot of variety in how this can work, right? So ads are something that people think about all the time. And like creators are like, yes, I would love to have people pay me to connect with my audience and place ads on my show. Yes. That sounds like a great deal, right? All right, so that's ads. I think that everybody sort of knows that. I break this down then, though, into its own category. Maybe it's just the way my mind works with. But brand partnerships, well, let me type it out so you can see it. So brand partnerships and sponsorships, closely related, kissing cousins to ads, but I do think they're a little bit different. I did recently go through a training on indie shows and how they can get sponsorships. It wasn't live. I wasn't there live. I was watching a replay of something that happened a little while ago. So I wasn't actually participating. I was watching a replay. And so, take it for what it's worth. It might be worthless. But of the people who showed up live, within the first few minutes, it was really, really clear that based on the expert that was there, all of the attendees, not some of the attendees, all of the attendees who signed up that they wanted to find sponsors and brand partners, according to the person leading the workshop, they were probably much too small to do this. And the only reason I mentioned this, I bought this, I paid for this workshop, and I'm not unhappy about it at all. I learned a lot, but it is very interesting to me that the person who led this workshop, which I watched on replay, not even live, was happy to sell a workshop about sponsorship without qualifying the people attending actually had an audience that they could apply the information. I just think it's interesting. It's not a commentary of right or wrong or anything like that. I just think it's interesting. So brand partnerships and sponsorships, that's where you work directly with a brand and they sponsor your show and you share your involvement, how you use it and what you know about it and all of these things. It's very close to being an ad, but it's different, right? It's a sponsorship. It's like, product placement of you're using a pan set to cook on a cooking video. That's a brand partnership, not just a red ad in the show. So I actually do have old experience, but back in the day, long time ago, when the content I created was about running and triathlon, I did brand sponsorships. I had apparel sponsorships and gear sponsorships and nutrition sponsorships, and sometimes a tech sponsorship. It was the thing that I will say about this is that every single deal that came to me then about that was because it was something I was actually already using, and then it was a good situation for me and the brands because I did actually use it. And so it was very native and easy for me to talk about what I was using and how it worked. I've never negotiated a cold brand deal with with a product I didn't already use. And the thing that I think made it work, this is my speculation, is that it was a win for me because I was having this relationship with something I really did use. It was a win for the company because I was out there evangelizing and talking about their products to whoever was in my universe. And it was a win for the consumer because it was an actual real fit. It was something I was really doing. So like if somebody asked me about it, they're like, hey, why do you use this bag? I'd be like, oh, let me show you. Right. And so it can be hard in 2026 to see how the products that are advertised online and that are out there really work in the real world. So having people who have a public personality to really actually demonstrate things, I think is helpful. So I think that that's when they work. I will also say that when you do when you do a brand deal or a brand partnership where you are representing how you use a product, that is you are taking on the message of that company, and it does get mixed up. And, I'm not a big enough person to have had this happen to me before, but people the creators do all the time end up in relationships where they're like, oh, I didn't actually know that about that company. Or I don't like that about, but it's a problem, a good problem to have, right? And then another way that creators get paid, once again, changing the text. Silence. This is really, you can be paid to be a speaker for other people's audiences on stages, a paid speaker. This is something that I think is an option for topic experts, right? Heather Richardson-Cox, she is a topic expert on the U.S. history. She would be an excellent person to speak to a room full of people who are curious about that. Celebrities can be paid to speak on other stages. There are niche markets where if you're a product expert, you can speak to businesses, at business conferences, things like that. It does exist. People who are creators do get paid to be MCs and speakers on other stages. So listen, I will tell you this funny story. Several weeks ago, a friend of mine sent me a thing. She's like, what do you think this is? It was a person who was charging podcast hosts to be a guest on the shows. At least that's what she said it was, right? So we looked at it And, and we were like, is this real? Is this real? I don't know if it's real. It didn't look like it was real. She just looked like a person. She said she was charging podcast hosts to have her as a guest. She didn't seem, I don't know. I looked at it and thought it was probably not real. In all of my shows, I've had 2 or 3 times where people have said they'd like to charge me or have me make a donation in order to be on the show. I've always sort of felt like that was just a way to say no without actually saying no. But that is a thing where I ran into a person who was just a regular person with a teeny tiny audience and not even what looked like a captivating story, who did say she was doing it. Maybe she was. Maybe I'm the fool here and I'm wrong. All right, so those are the ways that I know of creators getting out there and getting paid. Let me know if you, when you watch this, or send me an email, leave me a comment, whatever you want to do, if I've missed any or gotten any of these wrong. I'm curious. Curious. Okay, so now let's talk about what these all have in common. What they all have in common is that they require an audience before they actually make you any money. The easiest entry of these two is selling products and affiliates and merch, right? You can do those, right away. You're just not going to make any money unless you have an audience to see it and buy it, right? And this is the thing that I see sort of getting brushed under the rug, and not really also, because it's also something that people talk about all the time, right? And there's this huge gap that I see between where a lot of creators are with their loyal small audience and where these things actually begin to make sense. So a while ago, I watched a video from the guy whose name I forget. He's the head of Instagram, and he was talking about creators. And he literally, it was starting. He was like, "Yeah, so when you have 1 million followers, well, we don't all wake up and have 1 million followers. We have one." And it's our cat. No. And so it is something that people are talking about all the time, that you need an audience to do this. But it's also something that there's a lot of people who are out there selling, here's how you can monetize and do all these things without really addressing the huge gap. And I talked about this at the beginning, the moat, the space between the rings of how do you grow from, your mom and your cat's secret Instagram account to 500 followers, to 1,000 followers, to 1 million followers on social, on YouTube, on your audio podcast, all of those things, right? So these things are really very, very, very much connected. And as I put this together, I even kept stopping and pausing and saying, hey, if the first thing that comes has to be the audience, why am I talking about ways that people make money? And that's very reasonable feedback on this. I am talking about this because I think that it's very important to have how you're going to make money in mind from the beginning of how you create your show, because I think it changes how we think about every step of the creation, if I'm honest, right? And I've seen many different things, people go through different things where they will build a certain way and get to a certain point. But then when it comes time to actually turn on the monetization, what you've built may not actually be set up the right way to do it. Right. So so that's just something I think, that thinking about how you think you might do it, not in a rigid sense, but it's like, okay, one day I might want to have merch. What would that mean? One day I think I want to sell products. What does that mean? One day, what does it mean to the show? What does it mean to the content? What does it mean to where I go to build my audience all the way? One of the things that, let me take a second. One of the ways I see people describe this is a runway. Right. And this is how I was thinking about it when I launched The Art of Imperfect Adulting. I was like, all right, so you need an audience to get sponsors and ads, and you got to build the audience. So it was like, hey, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to get this out there. I'm going to build it, and then I'm going to take the next steps, right? And I have, I've built an audience. It has not worked exactly the way I thought it would. It has not yet grown big enough to do what I want. And that spot of being the thing, it's like, wow, it's grown so much. And I'm very, very proud of that. And also I'm struggling to figure out how to grow it to the next level and find partnerships and alliances and tools to get to the next steps, is why I'm working on this visibility element and why I'm talking about it publicly. I'm not pretending to have the answers. Very early on with my conversations with creators, I talked to somebody, Samantha, this is you, if you're curious about it. And she was like, yeah, one of the reasons I agreed to have this conversation with you is that you and I are a similar size. And so we are here. There's all these people who will teach you how to get started. But my question is, how do I get to the next step? I'm not pretending to actually understand that. I have some ideas of things might work, but I haven't tested them. Come with me, test them with me. All right. So I want to offer, instead of a runway, my current thinking about this, right? You know that saying about the horse and the cart and the carrot? That's not how it goes. But it's like this visual of like the old-timey horse and carriage, and the person driving the carriage puts the carrot out in front of the horse to get him to start working, to go forward, right? The enticement of the carrot gets the horse to go, right? It's good, right? But it's also, there's another layer of this, right? Because if the horse doesn't eat at all, he's not going to be strong enough to pull the cart, right? So you can't just put a horse and then the carrot and then he just will go and never get to the carrot. The horse needs food, right? And this is, for me, something that I think about a lot, because creators actually need money and monetary support to create the products, right? So there's millions and millions of people out there who are creating things that are free to consume, but there is actual cost for the creator to produce it. Right? There's a cost of time, and there's a cost of money, right? And so that is the nugget, right? That is the nugget. Like, how are you doing that? How do we bridge that and make it work from the get-go and in the middle, right? So the established creators and the established celebrities and the established networks, and they're out there, they're established, they've got it, they're making a living, right? So, there's the Forbes 20 best creators. There's there's a group that does the 100 top creators of that time, maybe, right? And it's getting a lot of press that those people are all existing celebrities. They are established. There is an entrenched value that comes with having that established audience that you can then monetize. But new creators can struggle to grow their audience and to make any money. And it's easy to pitch this as like, don't do it. It's impossible. Don't go there. I think that that's not where I'm going to be. Like, I want to be somebody who's like, there's opportunity here. Let's figure out how to make this work for folks like us. Especially because I think that right now there are two things happening in the world where I live, which have sort of changed. Like when I graduated from college, the thing that everybody did was go and get a job for somebody else. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on life as a new graduate from college, specifically in journalism creator, because I'm not. I'm 52. Like, I'm not there. But I do feel like a lot of people are jumping straight into the indie space. That's my impression. The other thing that's very, very real is that because of the gig economy, because of the remote work, because of all of the things that are going on, because for the first time, really, really in a long time, anybody can create a show and get it out to the audience, can put it out. Anybody can create a podcast. Anybody can create a YouTube channel. Anybody can create a blog. Anybody can create an email newsletter. There's no gate there officially to keep us from doing it, right? But you don't automatically have an audience. And people at various stages of their life are changing and leaving jobs and starting creator jobs. And so figuring out a way to grow your audience and get visible is, I think, helpful. That's my hope. All right. So when we look at the ways, so I think that creators need to have a plan, how they think they'll make money in their minds from the very first moment, instead of, and this is just an instead of, it's just a reframe, instead of saying, I'm going to work on building it, I'm going to put it out there, and it's just going to work itself out in the future, right? That's my point there, which is maybe right, maybe wrong, maybe, I don't know. The next thing is that I think that when we look at the list, I listed all those ways that creators can make money. I think that probably a reality here is that it's not like going to be one of these. Turn on your subscription and ta-da, finished, right? That can happen if you have a huge audience already. But if you're building an audience, I don't know that works. I think it's a mix, some and maybe all of these, right? That's the blessing and the curse of being on an indie media platform in a landscape where we have to meet our audience where they are. Anyway, so that's that. So why am I talking about this? I am talking about this because what I'm doing here with this Unmuted Creator Collective is something that the idea is that I think can help with this. My idea is at the Nexus that if you bring together a group of creators and the work of the collective is designed from the get-go to help grow visibility and growth for creators, then that is becoming the missing rungs in the ladder. It's becoming the bridge across the moat. So I've built the Creator Collective to be for women who are creating independent media. So what that means is that it's for people who are creating their own stuff, not people who are working for a company that makes stuff, right? So this is not, this is for the creators, creator first community. The reason I'm focusing on women is because I am a woman. All right. And it is my impression that there are fewer tools, less support, fewer opportunities for women in media and entertainment. If you disagree with my assessment that that's the current state of the world, I invite you to have that conversation with me, right? I really do. Like, I'm not saying that I'm absolutely right about this, right? So if you're curious about that, I had written this whole paragraph about why and how I came to that decision. Maybe it's for another time, honestly. But my first show, maybe not. Let's see, is anybody watching? 2 people are watching. Okay. So when my first show was about my hobby, endurance sports, I interviewed everybody. And because it was sports, I would have to go back and look. But a lot of the people I talked to were men. My second show was about family stuff. My guests were probably exclusively women because I'm a stepmom, right? When I launched The Art of Imperfect Adulting, right, I interviewed anybody. I was looking for stories of lived experience, choices of change, stories and change. I discovered very quickly that the demographic data of my audience was women. I had a ton of pitches from men. That were more than willing to talk to my audience. And I just slowly morphed around to this idea that the stories that were most helpful to my guests were the stories of other women, right? And so I shifted to having predominantly women as guests on the show as an intentional decision. One of the stories about how that happened is I had a guy who pitched my show who was like, I've lost 100 pounds and I think your audience would like to know. And I was like, hey, that's a great story. But my audience is women and I don't think it's a good fit. And he kept coming back to me and he was like, no, it is going to be helpful for your audience of women. I can talk to women about how they should lose weight and he can. Right. And maybe people would think it was valuable, but I just really was like, I don't know that my audience thinks that it's helpful to have a man talk to them about losing weight as a woman. I think that it's a different story. I think it's very similar to different age groups with body size, right? Like, so as a 52-year-old woman, I don't look to 20-year-olds as health advice, not because what they're saying is wrong or bad. It's just not a reflection of where I am at the moment. Right? That's the advice for other 20-year-olds. If you are a vegetarian, you don't ask a carnivore for recipe advice, right? So there we go. Okay, so there's 2 questions that have come up as I've rolled this out already. One of them is, what is a show? That is a fluid issue right now that I'm working on because that is very important. I have chosen to keep this as open as I possibly can and not have thresholds because I believe that that's really important. And so I'm working on it. I check every single submission to make sure that they have something that I can find that they show as a share that looks to me like a show. But it's really open because I'm not requiring that you have to have an RSS. I'm not requiring that you have to be on a specific platform. This is for all different kinds of things. To be in the showcase or the round table, you do need a YouTube channel because that's where I'm growing this, and that's the only way you can collaborate. But I'm trying to keep it open. And then what I think I'm looking for, and this is new, there have been 2 people who've submitted that I looked at and was like, I don't think this is a fit. And it is an open thing. It's open for discussion. So my reality is that, like, here's my example. Shonda Rhimes is a creator. Like, she's much bigger, much more successful than I am, right? So I'm not saying that I'm like Shonda Rhimes, but like, so she made Grey's Anatomy, right? Then she stopped making Grey's Anatomy and she went and did something else. It may have been overlap in the 2, so maybe this is a bad example, but just because she was no longer a part of Grey's Anatomy, which I think Grey's Anatomy has gone on without her, if there's a gap in between, she doesn't stop being a creator between the shows she's creating. So to allow for people to change the productions they do and what they're working on, I think is helpful. So what I'm sort of looking for is that you are actively creating within like the last 12 to 18 months. right? So I have had somebody who was like, hey, I'd like to be listed, and they haven't produced it. There's nothing I can find that they've made within the last several years. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. The other thing is, what does it mean? What does it mean to be a woman? Like, how am I defining that, right? Is it at the end? So people watching this, if you get here, yay. Thanks for making it this far. I'm super happy to share. What I'm building is not a political movement or a mission-based advocacy group, right? So that's not what I'm doing. This is for indie creators. And so the woman piece is because I live as a woman and because I noticed that, but not because I am not because I'm an advocate on that. Like, there are other people who do that, and they do a much better job than I ever will. But I just feel like there's more need for support for visibility and growth for women creators. That's my gut feeling. I'm not out here suggesting that I'm going to be doing gender exams or seeking to define it, but it has come up already in the very, very first portion about it. I'm not interested in fighting with people about it, but defining what it is, that can be helpful, right? And so I want to be very clear that the reason for making this definition is intended for me to do what I can to make sure that people feel welcome and safe and secure in with me, and the community and the platform that I'm building. So what I mean is women, right? So this is people who are assigned female at birth, anybody who identifies as a woman, and anybody who falls under the umbrella of womanhood, right? Quick note, this is a definition that is fluid. And I got some help from somebody who did reach out to me and asked me how I was defining woman. I don't actually have permission to share her story, but thank you. I know her as Emily, and thank you for your help putting these words together. Inclusivity is a value that is very important to me, but I do live on the planet in my bubble of I am a cisgender white woman who never questioned my gender. So I'm a student of this. And I'm very, very thankful for the people who've helped me get to this point and have this definition. So if you have any questions about whether or not you fit in the group, the true thing is I hope that you'll just reach out and ask me. But I also want to honor that I know that that's a big jump to reach out to somebody you don't know. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this in public. Like, here I am talking to you about it. Okay, so the first component that I showed you guys is the directory, right? The directory. I'll go back into the show and tell and I will show you. All right, so let's get rid of this one and we'll make the directory. This is the directory. And it is designed to be an open directory. There are tons of directories in the world. Like, you could think of Apple Podcasts as a directory. YouTube at its nexus could be considered a directory, right? Google is a directory. A lot of the directories for podcasting and YouTube and creators in general, business owners, coaches, things like that, they are inside closed groups. The directory is inside the closed groups. They're designed to be protected pieces, private places where creators can connect with each other. You know, here's a directory of people who want to be guests on podcasts, right? And the directory serves to be there to connect those people, right? What I'm hoping the Unmuted Creator Directory is a little different. It's more like a phone book. It's for visibility and discovery, right? So, and this is how my Unmuted Creator Collective, this is where it starts, right? If you're watching this and you're a creator, you can submit to be in the directory. I verify it, like I talked about it before. Is it a show? Are you a human? You can fill out the form and get it started, and that is free. And a notable point is that it is designed in its concept to be public and free, not just for a little while, but I think a free and open directory is an important part of this project because creators need to be seen, discovered, and found. And removing the obstacles of the gateway, like, hey, you can only get in this once you are a part of this paid group. You can only get in this once you have 10,000 listeners per episode. You can only be in this if you are a redhead. You can only be in this if you are a member of this association. Those are all very, very good things. I'm not negging on those things, but I think there is a space for an open directory. And obviously, this is there are two gates in here that I have set. You have to be a woman, under my open definition above, and you have to have something that I can see as a show, right? So that's that. And so that is where everything starts. So if what I've talked about today is interesting to you and you want to be a part of it as a creator, this is creator first thing, I hope that you will follow my little link, wrong mouse, and list yourself in the show. So do I want to do this? Let's see. I still have how long I got? 44. I will. I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit. And talk about cronyism. Do you know what that is? Cronyism is like where you only give business to your friends. Entertainment and media, in my understanding of it, are businesses, and journalism probably too, that historically have been hinging and built on networks that you can call nepotism and cronyism. This is things like, and this is true in my own life, I got my first job as a teenager in radio because my dad knew the people. I got my first job in TV because my dad worked in TV, right? Nepotism. We are alive in a time where media platforms, podcasting, email, newsletters, YouTube, they are pretty essentially open platforms. There is a requirement to have technology, so I guess you could say there's that, but there's literally nothing in between a person making their show and putting it into the audience, except knowing how to reach the audience. The old way of doing business is to form a group, and then the only way to get success is to be picked by the people in the group. You want to be an actor, you have to go audition for the producers that they then connect you to the audience. You want to be a journalist, you go get a job at a publication. You want to be a photographer, you go and you pitch your work to people who will publish it. You want to be an author, you send your books to the publisher and they put it out there. You have to pay your dues, of professional association, or just knowing the right people, right? When I set out to keep the directory open, it's because I really would love to keep it as open as possible. There's an immediate problem, which is that I can only connect with people who I know and who know me. There's no minimum size, though. The only thing is that your show just has to exist. So everything, how will these projects grow? These are visibility. How will these projects help you grow, right? These are designed as visibility tools. The goal is that by coming into the collective, there are ways that your show can be put in front of people who could be in your audience, people who you don't know. And then the next piece is monetization. How will you get paid? One of the things that I think is puzzling in my situation is that women are the largest commercial buying power, and yet most of the advertising and monetization things, the companies themselves are still run and operated by men, it appears, designed for men, right? I tell the story now all the time. I was listening to a podcast a few, we're going to say months now. The host was a woman, the audience is women. I'm listening to the ads. There's an ad for either erectile dysfunction or male hair loss. Could have just been a mistake, you guys. Could have just been an error, but I was like, wow, this feels like a disconnect. I am a part of, my shows are large enough that I have been invited into a couple of what are supposed to be ad marketplaces. And what is really surprising to me about these is that I am turning to people like, hey, we'll pay you for an ad, but they're not a match for my audience. They're very male tech, which, not that women can't be tech, but they're not a match for my audience, which is lifestyle women. And so that's something that I see that it is a question in the back of my mind. But as the group of creators in the collective grows, I do hope that this will grow into something that is connecting shows and brands for ads and brand deals and collaboration. I've never built an agency brokerage like that. Maybe there's one out there that exists that I don't even know. But the reason I'm talking about it in public is because if there's somebody out there that's like, wow, I know how to do that, and you want to work with me, reach out and let's see what we can do together. If you've stuck it all the way through 49 minutes, you may notice that not a single thing I've talked about is education. That's on the to-do list. But So I do think there's space for peer-to-peer education in the creator space. I also think that there's an opportunity for connection opportunities and networking and mentorship between creators, right? All of it, creator to creator, is needed and will be helpful. But the real reality is that my very small focus group of like almost 100 creators that I've talked to, when I talk to them about that, they're not struggling to find education. In fact, as people, because creating has grown up from a very neophyte startup where there is nobody in it to a more robust sort of sub agency concept kind of thing. Most creators are besieged with offers of people who are happy to sell us microphones, teach us how to use them, buy my course on how to do this, hire me to grow your audience, all of those things. So that's not the pain point I'm starting with, because the creators that I meet are struggling to build an audience and make money. And so that's where I'm putting my focus in that at first. So that is an update on where we are with the collective. That is an update on my ideas about how creators make money. That's what I have for you today. If you are interested in this and it appeals to you, reach out. Thanks for watching. This is Amy Stone signing off. Wrong mouse. Too many moving pieces in this. Ta-da!